My name is Emily Quinlan, and I'm an associate faculty member here at Saddleback College. I teach business law, I teach human resources and employment law, and next semester I will be adding personal law to my teaching repertoire. We are really excited about this event today, and we're so grateful that you could all make it. Eric Hilden is my event co-host, and put on this event for you, and I know that some of you have already become a little bit acquainted with one another and also gotten to know some of the human resource professionals, executives, and hiring managers who are seated among you. So in just a moment, we're going to introduce a few of you and then introduce our first speaker, but right now we'd like to get started. I would like to introduce to you the Dean of the Business Science Division and Economic and Workforce Development, Rafi Simone. Welcome, Rafi.
Thank you, Emily, and thank you, Eric. And I want to just say how pleased I am to see such a full room today. I want to thank all of you for participating in what is going to be, I think, a very dynamic, productive, and informative day. The field of human resources. The field of human resources has grown a lot, at least during my lifetime. It used to be that if and when you were seeking a job, you would find your application in a place called the personnel office. And the personnel office was usually manned, and I mean literally manned. There was usually a guy behind a desk that resembled the undertaker's assistant. Okay, he was very intimidating looking, not very friendly, very cold, and if you were there to seek an application for a job opening, you'd get handed the application, you'd get told to go sit someplace, and you submit your application and then wait for weeks on end and probably never hear from this entity again. In more recent times, and I would say about 20 to 25 years ago, the personnel department turned into what we now call the human resources office, or the human resources department. And that particular branch of any organization that hires people, that manages humans as resources, what a concept, has become much more important, and more important in recent times as the economy has had its ups and downs. We're facing some seismic shifts here in the next several months, if not the next several years, as an entire generation of baby boomers transitions out of the employment cycle and into the retirement world. So human resources is going to be important in terms of finding replacements for those people, qualified replacements for those people, plus doing something we don't often think of, and that's managing the benefits of those recently retired people. Because I don't know about you, but most people now are living longer. I hope to live a lot longer than my dad or my grandfather did. And did you know that Social Security, when it was instituted in the 1930s, of course, had a basic qualification age of 65, but the average lifespan for the American male was age 63 back in the 1930s. So what a deal, right? So we've exceeded that. And so human resources are going to be more important. Human resources personnel in terms of their training, their qualifications, their ability to manage hard skills such as accounting and mathematics, soft skills such as interpersonal communication and written communication are all going to be important things. I'm happy to say that this first ever Human Resources Symposium here at Saddleback College, you're actually a part of a kickoff event. From my perspective, this is the kickoff to Saddleback College getting really serious about human resources, and we have in the works right now a human resources curriculum improvement that will lead us to a certificate as well as an associate's degree in human resources. I'm very proud to congratulate the faculty on their efforts in making that happen. We have actually an Occupational Skills Award in human resources that we should be very proud of and that we are very proud of. So don't think of this as just a networking event, because it's a lot more than that. The field of human resources needs qualified people for the long term to manage the affairs of both the workforce and the recently retired in the workforce for many, many years to come. Searches and screens have become more of a science than an art, really, when we think about what kinds of pre-qualification tests, for example, the federal and the state government have to administer. It's human resources professionals that manage all of that. So you're going to be hearing a little about this and a lot about making connections to various aspects of your field of choice, through the lens of human resources today. We have a dynamite panel, and we have some invited guests amongst you that you are going to meet. So without any further ado, I want to turn the program back over to Emily and just tell you thank you for being a part of our kickoff event for this Human Resources Symposium. Thanks, everyone.
Our first of three presenters. The first speaker that we have today is Jan Slater. And Jan is a human resource expert and professional, and she is the president and founder of an incredible business called CareerConnection.me. And it is geared directly toward 85% of this audience, and it is a counseling and career direction service, really a website. And I know that you have some information in front of you about her business, which I think each and every one of you would definitely want to log on and check it out. So let me introduce to you now Jan Slater. Thanks.
Okay, good morning. How is everyone? So I'm Jan Slater. Let me get a couple of, I don't have to worry about slides. I'm standing in front of my screen. There aren't any. So I have a handout that looks like this. So go ahead and get that in front of you. I know you've got a lot of things. It says CareerConnection.me at the top. It says Skill Security right there. Everybody got that? Because we're going to use it. I have a darling little postcard about my website on your table. That's me. And it does have my website address, www.careerconnection.me. I forgot my business cards. This is a very, very, very bad example. So I'm going to give you my email right now. And go ahead and just put it on the handout. It won't print on the card. So I am Jan Slater, JANSLATER, at cox.net. Jan Slater at cox.net. I give that to you because if you have questions after this, today, tomorrow, or the next day, email me. I'll email you back. I'll answer your question. I always do. So I didn't bring cards, so sorry, but now you got my email address right on the handout, so let's get going. I know what the other speakers are going to talk about, and it is logical for me to go first because Becky is going to be talking to you about your resume and approaching those companies that you want to get an interview with, and Linda's going to be talking about networking. But it all starts with skills, because it is very difficult to write a resume if you don't know what you're selling. So skills tell you what you want to do, one, so it's in the assessment part of the process, and then two, it tells you what you're going to market to somebody. So I have a title under there called Skill Security. Here's what I've always thought. Now I've been in business since 1981, the dark ages, back when the economy was different. But I always thought there was skill security, not job security. Because there isn't job security, and there actually never has been. So there's skill security, because if you know what you're good at, and you can sell it to somebody, you will always be employed. Because there's a whole bunch of people out there who don't know what they're good at, and therefore they won't be employed because they can't market it. So not only are we going to think about these for your resume, which Becky's going to follow up with more, we're going to think about them for interviewing, and in a few minutes you're actually going to practice interviewing in here, because why not? It's a really good way to start applying this. So there are three kinds of skills. The first kind we call technical skills or specialized knowledge. And you see not an exhaustive list, but you see a list. Now, I never track specialized skills or knowledge because it very much depends on the business or the industry that you're going into. But technical skills are basically those things you learn at school or on the job that use your hands, and you usually touch something. So actually, when you're working with a computer, it is only a technical skill if you're repairing it or creating it. If you're just using a computer in your daily life, looking at data, that's another skill. So some of you are thinking about, you're here, so you're thinking about a four-year institution after this, some of you, yes? Yeah. Okay, so this leads then to major decisions. Because some of you may be majoring in engineering or majoring in law. Law goes under the category of specialized knowledge, or majoring in human resources, as just was talked about here. So a lot of times people choose a major in a career because they've got technical skills. By the way, I never have to have people really examine their technical skills. Don't all technical people, don't you all know yourselves? Technical people, right? And those of us who aren't technical, no, we're not either. I never add numbers and have them come out the same way twice. I've never built anything. I wreck things really easily. So I've known my whole life I wasn't technical. People who do know they're technical, I think have an advantage in terms of at least you know that's a skill you have and that you can demonstrate to people. But not everybody builds their skills based on technical skills, which is why we need to look at the other two categories. So the second kind are called personal skills. They derive from your personality and they describe what you're like. Now this is a very short list. When I do a complete assessment, it's a much longer list. But what I want you to do now is take a moment with a pen in hand, check all the personal skills you have, and star the three that are your favorite. So do that right now. Why is it people don't even know what their personal skills are? Or if I stood up here and said, what are your personal skills, how long would I stand here? Well, we'd have to go to that buffet line, because I'd be here a long time. Why is that? Why does this not roll off your tongue? Anybody? So we're all shy. Yes? It feels like you're bragging. Did your mom raise you to be a bragger? No. Okay, so it feels like you're bragging, or we receive a lot of, let's call it critical feedback in our life. We don't get a lot of positive feedback in our lives, do we? No, I don't care who you are. I used to be a CEO coach, and they moan about this all the time too. Now, I don't think they're giving away much good feedback, but they're sure as heck not getting it either. So everybody feels this way. That's why I give you a list. Because an answer to the question, tell me about yourself, or an answer to the question, what are your strengths, you need to know your skills. So I'm going to demonstrate an answer to this now, and then I'm going to turn you loose to talk to each other, and we're going to practice. So if somebody said to me, Jan, what are your strengths? I'd say I'm honest, forward-thinking, and hardworking. And what I mean by hardworking is this. I'm an identical twin. When my sister and I were 14, we wanted contact lenses because they'd just been invented then. Yes, I am that old. They were invented in the 60s. We were like on fire to get contact lenses. So our parents said, great, you can have contact lenses, go get a job. Well, we're underage. So you can actually work underage if your parents sign off on it. So we became maids at the Holiday Inn. That hotel still stands. It's now called the Ayers, and it's over there by Crystal Cathedral in Garden Grove. We worked with a bunch of ladies from Mexico. So you learn a lot from these jobs. I hope you all have these jobs because they are very character building. So we worked with a bunch of ladies from Mexico. And what would happen is they lived in Tijuana. They'd come up on a bus on Monday. They'd work all week, stay with relatives, and they'd go home on Friday to their families because they were supporting their families, which is a really important thing for Jane and Jan to know. Well, we thought we were underprivileged because we were having to pay for our own contact lenses. The fact is we were not putting food on the table. That was like lesson number one from that job. So one Monday when we got to that job, the bus didn't arrive. And we had 8 floors of rooms to clean between 8 in the morning and whenever we got done. We got busy. The head housekeeper joined us. We just decided to start on the top of the hotel work our way back down to the bottom. By 10 o'clock at night, we were knocking on doors and giving people fresh towels and soap and saying good night, and we got the job done and went home. That's what I mean by hardworking. Now think about it. Could I make that story up? Heck no. I just demonstrated a lot of skills, not just hardworking. And yes, crazy might be one of them. So let's think about what a really good story does for you as a candidate. HR people in the room back me up on this. It is incredibly boring to interview a lot of people in one day. Yes? Yes. Boring, boring, boring. If someone will come along and tell us an interesting story, we might hire you just for that reason alone. Because we're hardly going to remember you. The rest of them, blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. They give the list that's on here, but they never demonstrate it. And in fact, we want to know, how did you do this? We actually want to watch you work, but we can't do that. Can't follow you around. We'd like to call references, but that isn't really all that productive either. We need a story from you. Now here's the key to a good story. It needs to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. For God's sake, wrap it up for us. I've been on interviews when I think, is this ever going to end? Is there an ending to this story? Where is your off button? So now the story needs to match what it is they've asked you. That's the other mistake people make. They wing off on some story I guess they want to tell, but I was never asking for that story in the first place. So you gotta listen, and then you gotta match the story. So the reason we're gonna practice in here today is, if you don't have 8 or 10 stories to tell in an interview, well, then you're not ready. 8 or 10. Because I'm going to demonstrate something about that in a minute now. So go ahead and look down at the 3 words you gave the star to. Those are going to be your answer, and you're going to tell a story about one of them. So we're going to just be very quiet and stare at those 3 words for a minute. Now several things are happening. I'm a mind reader too. That's another skill I have. Some of you are staring at those 3 words thinking, oh why did I check these? Right? What was I thinking? And for a lot of you, your brain just froze. How many of you have a frozen brain in here right now? Yes. This, I hope, is a more relaxed environment than an interview is going to be. So here's the moral of the story. If you don't think of these stories ahead of time, I assure you, you won't when someone's staring a hole through you. You're like, oh my gosh, my brain is locking down, uh-oh, harder. Or you say the first thing that occurs to you, because remember your mouth can work separate from your brain. This is not a good thing. So we're relaxed now, and we've got a partner at our table. Please do 2Zs, not 3Zs for the most part if you can. Now listen really careful to the directions, because you're going to want to be the first person to ask this question, because then you don't have to tell your story yet. One of you is going to be the interviewer. And the question is, good afternoon, let's warm them up. What are your strengths? And they're going to have to answer the 3 words and then the story. And of course, they're going to reverse it on you. So here's the deal. If you're not ready to tell your story, on your mark, get set, go, become the interviewer. Say hello. Good afternoon, what are your strengths? You're up. Get a job at a big fat salary? Oh, you didn't get around to salary. Oh, okay. Well, I didn't give you enough time. That's the other benefit to a really well-told story. They're likely to pay you more, because now they know what you can do. Or in other words, it's just a big guess on their part. They don't want to guess. They do not. So let's take this from the listener point of view first. You heard a story. Someone tell me, what did this story do for you in terms of this other person? What did it tell you? Okay, he told you he was reliable, and he proved it. Okay, thank you. Someone else? Yes? Okay, all right, so that's very impressive, isn't it? You know a whole lot more about him now. Yes, I saw another hand back there. Yes, sir. Great. Great, okay. One more, yeah.
You know, it brought the skill to life and it made it stick. I remember why that person has that skill. Because that
Yes.
people say my name is or my skill is.
Right.
Trust.
Right.
It actually brings it together.
Exactly. Again, People in HR have heard these laundry lists forever. I remember a woman I knew many years ago who was so sick of interviewing that when people said, I'm good with people, she always said, as opposed to monkeys or what? What does that mean? Please never say you're good with people. We have heard it. Right? Now you want to tell a story about being good with people, we're all over that. But don't say that. Okay, so now the last kind of skill that's out there is transferable. I don't have an exhaustive list, but I have several skills listed here. Here's the difference now. Transferable skills come from your paid work life. Well, wait a minute, that might be a little shallow for some of you. So they also come from your volunteer life, they come from your personal life, they come from school, and they come from just personal activities that you're involved in, hobbies and things like that. I love volunteer skills. Here's why. Not only are they good things to market to people, but they tell me as a career coach a lot about you. Because you're doing something for free, you must love doing it, number one. Number two, in your volunteer life, you often try on untried things because it's going to be really hard to be fired as a volunteer, yes? Oh, you want me to write the newsletter? Oh, okay. You want me to coach the soccer team? Teach the Bible class? All right, you say. And number three, and most important, if you stick around that volunteer organization for more than a few weeks, they're going to put you in charge